Bag up, bag up. Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord. Lord, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus. What you doing, Terry? Terry, what you doing?
Become a teacher, they said. It'll be awesome, they said. Saturday night editing, that's what it is. Saturday night editing. Nothing awesome about this.
I've made a huge mistake.
Okay, let's take a quick look at what happened in this debate. Money, bread, dough, that good old cash, can it buy happiness or not? Proposition 1 says that yes, it can. It doesn't guarantee happiness, but it's a powerful tool to help you achieve it. Basically, all of Proposition's case came down to the idea that while money can't buy happiness, it sure as heck goes a long way towards buying all of the other things that makes your life more comfortable and can then lead you to a potentially happier life. Trust, you talk about resources that open doors and opportunities. You go as far as saying sports and hobbies can be limited without money, but with money you have way more opportunities to enrich your life, is an excellent point to make. Control over your lives, and then of course the big thing in this debate, without financial stability there's anxiety, emotional distress. So basically Prop 1 comes up and says if we've got enough money, it's not buying us happiness, but it is alleviating financial stress and allowing us to live our best lives. Nice. Opposition 1, Tin rocks up with true happiness comes from within. Someone singing My Lord Kumbaya. Yes, that is an excellent, tried and tested old truism. True happiness comes from within. Is it enough to seal the win in the debate though? Is it a strong enough argument? Well, let's see. Tin, you bring up the idea that the money is the root of all evil, so two sort of like points that we've made. True happiness comes from within, money is the root of all evil. Great starting points. Remember your structure. Your point needs to then have, or your claim needs to then have a motivation, a backup, some examples. Give me all of the razzmatazz about why you are saying this. Rich people suffer from anxiety and depression. Great. Why? How? All of us suffer from anxiety and depression, okay? So would you rather be poor with anxiety and depression or rich with anxiety and depression? You needed to flesh that point out a little bit more. Money doesn't last forever, okay? So once it's gone, you end up without the supposed happiness. It's a good point. Money doesn't last forever, but that doesn't necessarily prove the opposite, that without money you are going to be happier. Okay, so overall, Tin, you and Trust spoke for around about the same amount of time. I would have liked you, Tin, because you're a good speaker, you're a strong argument builder. I want you to flesh them out a little bit. Good claims. Where's the motivation? Where is that backup? Where's the backing vocals to these points that you are trying to make? Prop number 2, Preem. Money is not a small role in somebody's life. It plays a big role. It's a massive contributing factor to our lives. Great. And so, Preem, a little bit of a short speech, 2 minutes 35 seconds, but the bottom line that I think fit in nicely with what your team was saying, we're not saying that money is the only way to achieve happiness. So we're not arguing with opposition that happiness is an internal thing. We are saying that money goes a long way towards living the kind of life where you are self-determining and where you are able to enjoy not just having to exist and fighting to exist, but to actually just live the good life, which is, on the whole, going to make you happier. So, let's take a look. Bybua, timing. Baibua, you have a tendency to do quite a long speech, which is excellent, nothing wrong with it. But remember, you cannot exceed your 7 minutes. Less is more sometimes. And if you can keep your points to a 7-minute limit, it actually makes your argument a little bit stronger. Okay. Money can buy a bed, but it cannot buy sleep. Nice. Okay. That is a really good claim. It's a really good little hook. Okay. Money can't guarantee happiness. It isn't something that can inherently make you happy. Like your first speaker said, true happiness comes from within. So you address the idea of removing stress of financial issues. Removing a negative does not create a positive. These are all good points, but I would have liked to see that you attack the materialistic nature of proposition's argument, okay? Because proposition are arguing if you have all of the money to engage in and indulge the little things that you enjoy most, you are going to be happier. You're saying money doesn't guarantee happiness. Okay, fine, that's what we expect to hear from opposition. But I need an attack. I need opposition to attack and say, you know what, actually, all of that materialism, all of that greedy little goody goodness is going to make you unhappy. It's actually bad for you, okay? That's what I wanted to hear. Throughout opposition, we were lacking this case. You guys were going on about how true happiness comes from within, money can't buy you happiness, but I wanted a nice engagement. I wanted a nice clash with the proposition. Relationships and friends vanish after money disappears. Now we're getting to some good stuff, okay? If the money runs out and all of your relationships have been superficial or money-based and they all disappear, now we're getting closer to an argument, but we're still not building it all the way. And then my notes just say dead gran. I'm not entirely sure what that point was all about, but I did write it in all caps. So it must have been quite the point to bring up. Again, if I've made a question mark next to the notes, then that means I haven't quite figured out what you were trying to say, which means that you weren't able to explain it all the way through. And this is right at the end, so it's probably because you were running out of time. So keep that in mind. Try and stick to within your time limit. Prop 3, Oreo. Okay, so proposition third speaker. Money covers the basic needs, and without this, there is no happiness. If you have more money, you can focus on living well. You are not focusing on just surviving and just making it to the next meal. You have the cash to travel, to indulge in hobbies. It gives you the premium experience. It gives you the freedom to make choices. Okay, it gives you autonomy over your life, and without enough money, you are just forced to try and survive. And you know what? That is a strong argument, and that's not an argument that opposition directly engaged with or were able to really pull off the table. Leon. Okay, so money is a cycle, and it's cyclical in its nature. We get it, we lose it. Leon, I think one of the things that we need to look at is your structure, especially if you're going to be a closing speaker. You need to be laser focused, okay? You need to be somebody who can recap all of your team's points, attack all of the other team's points. You need to really lock it down. So I think what happened in the closing speech here is that there was a little bit of a lack of focus, okay? So don't stress too much about this. This is just some constructive building feedback, looking into if you are going to close again in the future as a speaker. I really need crystal clear layout. This is what they said. This is what we said. This is why we win and they did not. Okay, so Leon, your speech really didn't quite pull those loose ends together. You spoke for 5 minutes and 18, so it's not bad in length. It's a sweet spot in how long it should be, but it didn't really focus on the points that it needed to swing this one home. So, as I get ready to go and cry into my pillow, I am going to go ahead and make the call to award today's, or rather last week's debate to side proposition. Congratulations.